Hey folks, it's Shannon. Welcome on in. I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about one of my newer obsessions, which is fountain pens. So if you are interested, grab some tea and let's get into it. So here's just a blank page so that we can kind of write as we go and kind of compare and contrast some of my pens. Unfortunately, my first pen I've lost. So my first fountain pen was from Archer and Olive. It was kind of similar to this one, but it was green and gold. It had a steel medium nib. So this part's called the nib. And based on how big this area is here, it'll decide how how thick the lines are when you write. Yeah, so this was my second pen, and this one is also from Archer and Olive. This one is, I think, still available on the website. It has a medium nib as well. I believe it's steel as opposed to gold. You can't tell based on the color. It's like gold plated and whatever. Yeah, but anyway. So when you're talking about fountain pens, it seems like most people talk about the nib, the ink, the paper, and the pen itself. So those are some of the things that I've been just experimenting with and figuring out what I like. So like I said, I started with medium nib pens. The Archer and Olive ones have got pistons. So what you do is you put the whole thing into an ink bottle and then twist to pull up the ink. And then you kind of blot it off and go about your writing. So it can be a little bit messy, but honestly, I'm kind of glad that I started with it instead of having to fuss around with converters or other things like that. I find this simple dip pens not dip pens. Dip pens are different. There's a lot of terminology in fountain pens, so if I get it wrong, please show me some grace. But anyway, the pens that you directly put in and use a piston to pull up the ink are kind of my preferred method because that's what I learned with. Along those lines, my next pen, after much research, was to get these TWSBI Echoes, TWSBI Echo, which are kind of clear and see-through, but have the same kind of mechanism. So you dip them in the ink and you twist to pull the ink up into the pen. They have caps that twist on too to keep the ink nice and fresh. And so I have two of these. I got them both with fine nibs because I tend to like to write smaller, and I do prefer that. So that has been helpful. Yeah, so that's just a couple of things that I've learned about my own preferences. I like the twisty kind, and I like fine nibs. Though we can show you a little bit more about that. Okay, let's zoom in here and get some writing done. And like you guys know, I write sideways. So let's start with this pen first. So I have amber ink in here. So I've been watching people doing swatches and stuff like that. And it seems like most of the time when they're writing out what they're using, they use kind of the name of the pen, the name of the ink, and the size of the nib, so that they know kind of how they put down that writing. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of This setup, I love this amber color. It's gorgeous. It gives me all the fall vibes. So there's a little feedback on Archer and Olive paper. I have gone down a whole rabbit hole trying to find paper for reasons that I'll show you in just a minute. But honestly, I still kind of really like the Archer and Olive, even though it feathers a little bit. Because I hate ghosting, and there's no ghosting if you use their notebooks. The problem is with some inks, so this is with the Archer and Olive slate ink in the TWSBI Eco pen, and you'll see it looks good at first, but then as it sinks in, it tends to feather. So pen, TWSBI, Echo. The ink is Archer and Olive, slate. And you can start to see it over here in the TWSBI part. See how like it gets a little bit like feathered. I don't know how else to say it. But like the lines don't stay nice and crisp like when you put them down initially. Which is a little bit sad because I love this color. I like that it's like understated and kind of a little bit off from black, but still dark. I had to do so much writing in black for my job that like it's kind of nice to work on something different. So same exact pen, different ink, and you'll see it doesn't feather, at least as much. I'm still learning all these terms, so again, patience is lovely. This is that lovely teal that was from the subscription box back in March. So you can see, just comparing like these bees, how much feathering there is there versus there. So, and that's with the same exact pen and nib. So this is the thing about fountain pens, is I feel like there's a lot of variation in how they write, and I'm still learning a little bit about a lot of the details. I think sadly that this ink is going to be one that I don't use very much going forward. I haven't decided if I'm going to like clean out the pen and wash out the ink and everything, or if I'm going to just use it down until it is up. But I haven't found any paper, honestly, that it's able to write on well. So let me switch out for my other notebook and we can talk about that a little bit more. So because of this ink in this pen feathering so much on the Archer and Olive paper, I decided to go looking to see if there were better papers that I could use, because there's a lot of people online that say Archer and Olive is not really fountain pen ink friendly, because it does tend to feather more than some other papers. So if you hang out around fountain pen folks on YouTube, you will quickly hear about Tomoe River paper, which is what is the paper that is in Hobonichi's. And it's kind of like the best of the best in a lot of people's opinions. So I was trying my darndest to find a white dot grid notebook that had Tomoe River paper. And this was the closest I got, was this cream. And here's this pen with that same slate ink. And you can see it's still feathering quite a bit. So I think that the moral of the story is that this ink is just not going to be one of my favorites. And I have to figure out what to do about that. But you can see with the amber ink, even though it's in the medium nib, it doesn't really feather quite as much. It's still not great. If I write bigger, it's even better though. And then the teal continues to be my favorite. So looks nice and sharp. and is a really cool color. So I'm wondering if I stick with the Archer and Olive notebooks, because this like cream color isn't gonna work super well for kind of the artistic creative journaling that I do. So I'm just trying to find a balance and not like completely redo all of my notebooks because I found fountain pens. But if that's what ends up happening, it ends up happening. So yeah, if you have suggestions of white 5mm dot grid notebooks that have paper that is fountain pen friendly, I am all ears. Drop them below. If not, I think what I'll do is I'll probably keep working with my Archer and Olive notebooks until I use them up, and then do some more experimenting in the future about what are the best ways to do things going forward, because I want to switch over to using my fountain pens more. I love my Pilot G2 pens, like they're great, but it is just so much more fun to write with the fountain pens. And I don't know why, it just feels more writerly, I think. And so I've been leaning into it because it's making me write more. So along those lines, let me show you how my morning pages are going. So not too long ago, I set up what I was going to be doing in this notebook, which is my morning pages. And I wanted to just show you that it's going super well. Here is the centering and grounding spread that I came up with. So these outlines are here so that I can just put my hands down and close my eyes and tune in and kind of just get centered, either before or after I write. And then I have kind of what we talked through at the top with the date, my mood, the weather, and then some astrology for the day, and then go right into writing. And you can see I'm using my teal pen in here, and it looks fabulous. Yeah, so it's going well. I'm really excited about it so far. So there are lots of how-to videos about fountain pens out there. I just wanted to kind of start talking about my experience so far and what I've learned so far. Hopefully this is helpful. If you have more questions, let me know down below. I would love to keep talking about pens and the ways that I've found to work with them. Yeah, if it's of interest. If it's not, happy to go back to journaling and witchy stuff and the usual fun that we have around here. So yeah, let me know what you'd like to see more of in the comments, and I hope that you have an excellent day. Have a good one. Bye.